Well, I've been a speech pathologist for 43 years, and I've always just had such an interest in helping the whole person and helping people be the best they can be. I've gotten just sort of a passion the past few years about thinking about our students, or it's so much not about just our students, it's about anybody who ever gets stressed. Has anybody ever had stress? Well, yeah. And so when we have stress, we can our brain will shut down because God is protecting us from stress. God is protecting us from danger and put structures in our brain that are there to protect you from danger. Like Jennifer, you were sitting here reading your book, and then there's this lion that comes up to you and is about to eat you up. Your brain is going to say, danger, danger, run, fight, or freeze, but don't just sit here reading your book. But as life is going on with all the stress that we have in our world, we misperceive things for danger. When really maybe it's just that looks hard. Oh my gosh, that's too hard. And have you ever had that feeling? It gives me chills just now saying it, when you just panic and your brain panics. And so this is very exciting to me, and I hope to you. A lot of this is coming from Harry Lorraine's memory ideas. Harry Lorraine is dyslexic, and he is a memory champion of the world, and Dominic O'Brien is also dyslexic and is an 8 times world memory champion. Can you hear this talk? It comes from this book called Learning to Love Math. But this is not really about learning to love math. It's about just learning to love learning. Okay? The lady who wrote this book, Judy Willis, is a neurologist. I don't know if you've heard of her. Judy Willis, and her name is all over her handout. She's a neurologist who went back to become a middle school teacher. How cool is that? Because she's so interested in the brain, and she wouldn't you like your child to have a neurologist for their teacher? And this book is incredible. How to Love Math, and it's just a whole lot of what we say today is out of it. And I want you to write down. Did anybody get a radish?
Yes.
Good. I want you to hold on to your radish. That's your radish. Anybody need a radish? Okay, here it comes.
Here's one.
Pretty good. I got one. So I want you to make a prediction and just jot down in a word or two a prediction of why you think you have a radish. And it can be any kind of prediction, just a guess. And does anybody need a pen or anything? Just any kind of, just a word about why do I have this radish. And throughout this time, if you get updates, make updates on your prediction. Okay? You can also make a prediction about what this is. Make a prediction about why in the world we have this. Okay, a funnel and this little connector. Okay, so you can just make prediction. You can update your predictions as we go.
Well, you just ponder that, huh?
Yeah. Ponder that. The plan for today. Okay, this isn't in your handout, but the plan for the day, and at the end, hey, Wanda, come on in. And we want you, the plan for today is, I want y'all to know that how many of you have a child that you're especially thinking about, or an adult, or anybody you're thinking about? Yeah. And so, to know and to let them know that we can make our brains smarter and stronger. Be strong. Let's see how strong you are. Smarter and stronger. Yeah, through effort, practice, and review. Just like we make our muscles stronger through practice and effort. We want to maximize the chances of learning and remembering by getting that information into the thinking part of the brain. Show me the thinking part of your brain. It's here. Like put your heel of your hand like on the bridge of your nose. Like this is the prefrontal cortex that goes all up here. That's the thinking part. So we want to learn how to get thinking. Am I doing any better? The thinking to the thinking part instead of, because that thinking reflective brain. It can reflect on thinking, reflecting, instead of into the unthinking, reactive brain. Like, oh! when you panic. Do Do you think that you learn very well when you're panicked? Right. So, okay, we want us to control what gets into our thinking brain instead of outside forces like that lion controlling us, or like the fact that that looks hard, or the fact that somebody hurt our feelings. We don't want those things to control what we can learn. And spa strategies, some of you know spa strategies, like you relax in a spa. So we have spa strategies for your brain to keep it open. And one of the quotes from Judy Willis is, and I love this, let's read this together.
Only the person who thinks learns.
That's pretty profound, you know? And so we've got to get it to the thinking brain. Okay, there are these brain filters that, did you know that every second your brain has, I've read billions, I read hundreds of millions of bits of information every second trying to get into your brain. And if you had billions a second bits of information, you would be so overwhelmed. I mean, who feels overwhelmed anyway? Yeah, and so this filter, so I'm thinking of this is like the filter in your brain. It's back here. It's going to call it RAS here. You can just call it, can we say RAS?
RAS.
Yeah, RAS, that stands for reticular activating system. So that's back in the, like just in the very back of the brain, the top of the brain stem, and that is like a funnel. Picture billions of bits of information a second trying to get in, and it filters it down. It lets in about 2,000 a second. That's still pretty impressive. You know, did you know that when a baby is born, but now too, I think, we have more brain connections in our brain than the population of the earth. That's like amazing. So I guess they're not this big. What do you think? And so the RAS intake filter in the back of your brain here, and the amygdala, which is the part that sends it especially to panic mode. When information is trying to get in, these two filters, the RAS, can you tell me RAS? And amygdala. Good, we'll learn it better this way. Good, tell me again.
Amygdala.
Yay, my favorite thing. That they evaluate, because they're there to protect your brain. Again, it's all about God made us to protect our brain. And so they evaluate all of those thousands and thousands of bits of information. Will this help my brain? Will it help me survive? Will it give me pleasure? Or is it dangerous? And so then, they only have two places they're going to send that information. One of them is to the thinking part of your brain. Show me the thinking part of your brain. Yeah, that prefrontal cortex. Can you tell me? Prefrontal cortex. It's a very thin layer of neurons that's what we're depending on. You know, but fortunately we're well made. And so that part is under your control. You can control thinking if it's there. So the prefrontal cortex, the only other choice is to fight, flight, or freeze. That is not under your control. It's reactive. So do you ever feel like you go through your day kind of just reacting? Yeah, and is it a good feeling? It's not, is it? And so that's not under our control. So we think about our kids. If we have children, we're thinking about that, you know, when they get frustrated, they can't control. Their brain is not thinking. Their brain, because it didn't go to the thinking part, it went to the fight, flight, or freeze part. And so the fight part might make them act out. Ever seen anybody act out? Yeah, I mean, people will act out because or just literally fight, or like one student who was a second grader that was so embarrassed that he couldn't read, and the way his way of fighting is second grade. He told me, he said, I just hate to read. He said, I would rather milk a goat with my mouth. And I think that was the worst thing he could think of in second grade. And so, but then we worked a couple of years, and then he was doing so well, we stopped, and then his mother emailed me and called me when he was in 7th grade, and he had been chosen for the Duke Talent Identification Program, reading in the 99th percentile. And I just think about what, and he's playing football, he's, you know, and what would he have been fighting by now if he couldn't read? I mean, if he was in second grade, I mean, he had to shot me with it. You know, and so I just think what would have happened if he hadn't learned how to read and handle it. For flight is when you might daydream or doodle. Of course, doodling sometimes helps, so I'm not like against doodling, I don't think, if it helps you to think, because movement helps you. But the daydream, this is what Dr. Willis said, though. She said doodle or daydream, so I'll stick with the doodle part. But that's to escape that daydream. So how many of us have ever started daydreaming with something? Yeah, your mind just, and then you realize your mind has gone somewhere and freeze, just to ignore it or freeze or, so some of the jobs of that thinking part, when you show me your prefrontal, tell me prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, we'll call it PFC.
PFC.
Yay. And it's also called the CEO of your brain. Or some people call it the orchestra director of your brain, because it is the director. And so some of the jobs like memory, paying attention, inhibiting responses that you shouldn't do, those are all jobs here. And these are, I'm going to give you three other kind of overall, like heal is like, in the prefrontal cortex, you make a plan, you have a goal, you envision it. Think about a CEO of a company, would they make a goal? Or if you're playing a game, you have a goal to win. And then skill, like how do you get the skills to reach whatever that goal is, and will, to keep yourself pumped up, to stick with it, to not give up. So those are some jobs. Do we need those jobs? Yeah. So we want to have control of that. Now here it is. What is it? The amygdala. So that's the guardian of your learning brain. It shuts down your learning brain if you're anxious. So I'm going to say that here's our, I forgot to say this part, I didn't really show you this. We have to go through the filter back in the brainstem, right at the top of the brainstem, and so it will filter out these thousands of thoughts, of information are going to go either to the thinking brain or to the emotional brain, the amygdala. And where that emotional brain, so where can you can think, we want it to go here, to the thinking brain, but we don't want it to go fight, flight, or freeze. So here is your amygdala. It looks like an almond. The word amygdala means almond in Greek, and it's this little red part, and it's like they're shaped like almonds. You've got two of them, so it really should be amygdala, or however you say that in Latin, maybe. But in the literature, it seems like they hardly ever use it, the plural. So I'm not either, but I do know there are two, and I want you to know there are two. But I'm going to just talk about the amygdala. But there are two. If you think, what if you keep your fingers think about it, if you went into your eyes and above your ears. That's where they are. Where this line would intersect in the limbic system, which is the emotional part of your brain. It has a lot to do with memory, too, and it's very close to your olfactory, because that's why when you smell, it reminds you of things, because memory is close to that, to the olfactory. And so it's your job, this is where the spa comes in, we'll talk about later. It's your job to keep your amygdala happy. Can you tell me, it's my job to keep my amygdala happy?
It's my job to keep my amygdala happy.
Yeah, and we're going to teach ways for you to, I want your kids, it works, and I want us to help them. So one thing, that it helps to know that you have the power to change your brain, to make it smarter. Judy Willis, we could watch some videos on YouTube. You could learn so much if you just put in Judy Willis, John Medina, and I have him in my other stuff in there, and Dean, Milton Dean, D-E-H-N. They have videos you can watch about memory and your brain, and you'll see their names later in your handout. But these are just some of the things out of Judy Willis's book. You can build mental muscle, just like you build muscles with exercise, and more dendrites grow when you review information and get enough sleep. And I'm writing away. I feel like I have a lot. Okay, but feel free to move. Feel free to move if you want to. I wanted us to think about dendrites, okay? This is cool. I want you to take your hands. We have hands here. And the parts of a neuron, like your palm is like the body, the cell body of a neuron, and your fingers are like the dendrites. And this part of your forearm is like the axon. Like the axon carries, I'm so not a neurologist. And I've never taken neurology course, I don't think. I mean, maybe I did like in 1960 something, but I don't think I did. I've taken a lot of neurology mini courses a day long, a lot of those, and I've read a lot, but I so much don't understand. And a neurologist, this makes me feel better, he said that if our brain were simple enough for us to understand it, we would be too simple to understand it. So, I love that quote, so that's my excuse. And so, but anyway, but your axon carries things away from the cell body. The neuron, this is a neuron. This is all a neuron, a nerve cell in the brain. And these are your dendrites. So I want us to make like a nerve connection. So what if we connect to each other? We're going to have to kind of work this. Yeah, what if we all do it? Okay, here we go. I'll have to do it. We're going to try to, actually, there's research. This book by Judy Willis would be an awfully good one, and she has the back part. She has like brain owner's manual is at the back, and she, as this teacher in middle school, she teaches at the beginning of each course. She'll very purposefully and throughout teach the students how you can make your brain stronger. You can physically, they've done research. You can read a lot of research about this, where if you do a certain activity, play piano, play an instrument, do anything, play a sport, they're going to measure that part of your brain that would have been learning, and the dendrites are heavier and bigger, and you have more of them. And your axon has gotten more of a myelin coating, which is like the insulation. It makes it stronger, and the memories stay longer. Do we want this? Yeah, because how many of you, do we see that we'll learn something sort of, and we just forget it? So this is good for us and for anybody. And I wanted to say a prayer, and I forgot to do that at the beginning. I wanted to pray. Can we pray? Dear God, just thank you for these wonderful, wonderful people being here, and we just ask you to help us that we would learn things that will help us and our families and our children to use this wonderful brain. In your precious name we pray. Amen. So with effort and focused attention, you can determine what gets into your thinking brain. Doesn't it happen sometimes that kids or us, we get to feeling kind of helpless or hopeless, or we think we can't do something? I don't know. I think we don't always feel empowered. Like even last night, oh gosh, when I went to get my handouts made at Kinko's, now FedEx, but Kinko, the guy that started Kinko used to say, see, call Australia. But I had my little jump drive, and he looked at it, and as soon as I handed it to him, he just pulled this little thing on it, and I said, what's that? And he said, well, this is just to pull this out. And I said, well, what's that for? And he said, that's so you can hook it onto your keychain. And I've only had it about 5 years. And I thought, okay, the first sentence in this talk is, only the person that thinks learns well. I should also say only the person that looks. And I never bothered to even look at it, which was pretty sad. So you build strong memory banks with effort and review. I think if you feel hopeless, you're not going to put out the effort. Can you picture that sometimes we just think other people are just smarter than we are? Right? And we don't know that if we put out effort, we think it's hopeless. So it's important for our kids to know, for us to know, that effort makes you smarter. It does, and you can measure it. And the brain, everything we do is about this brain-friendly thing. I want us to think, to know the brain has to feel safe, and it loves novelty, like the radish that you might wonder about, curiosity. I hope that made you a little curious about the radish, because your brain is kind of like looking for clues. It's important if you make somebody curious, or if you entertain them with humor, or show them patterns. The brain likes that. The brain likes to find patterns. And so then the brain is just going to be looking for clues, and therefore it'll stay with you better. And we want our brain with us, right? Okay. Oh, good. Here we are, the Dendrite song, and you can Google for this. Okay, we're going to sing this. It's like to the tune of Clementine. Can you kind of read it? I'm sorry, it's not bigger than that. Let's show me your dendrites. Use your dendrites.
Use your dendrites to connect throughout your brain. Take in info, analyze it, grow some new ones unrestrained. Axons send out neurotransmitters to the dendrites all around. Across the synapse, shows the impulse. New ideas can now abound. Stimulation is what the brain needs to make dendrites stretch and grow. New connections make us smarter in what we think and what we know. Use your dendrites to connect throughout your brain. Take in info, analyze it, grow some new ones unrestrained.
Now I know why Jennifer left me in the choir. It was probably painful. So that's good. You can just Google Dendrite song and you'll get that, along with a lot of others. Okay, this is from this little 5th grader, again in one of Judy Willis's classes, and she has them and this would be so good. Just make, like at the speech colleges, we made a model out of Play-Doh of our larynx, and it really makes you learn. Whatever you're learning, if you make it in clay, you're going to be better, and label it and talk about it and teach it to somebody else. That's always going to make things better. Her students make brains out of clay and dendrites and axons and all of this, and show how they get fatter and build them, and so they can picture this is happening when they learn. Like one girl wrote, and it's not this one girl wrote though about when I'm going to watch TV, I start thinking, okay, if I make the choice to study and practice instead, I'm going to grow my dendrites. And she says it might not be fun, but it works better, and something like that. So this Mitch wrote, and I thought it was a good letter. It's the only one I took here. He says, I can be smarter if I focus, practice, and use my strengths. I can grow the brain connections and cement the memory circuits to be smart. And the more I practice, the stronger my connections become, and the smarter I am. It feels so good to know I have the power to be smart. Okay? I've also discovered that when I grow those dendrites and synapses, which is what they have to jump over to get from one neuron to the other, there's liquid fluid in there. That's one reason why it's good to drink enough water, keep your body hydrated, and have happy chemicals in there. Learning seems easier, and I don't get lost in class. So it's a good cycle. The more you have success, you want more success. Okay, your brain is rad. Your brain is rad. There are 3 keys that control what information your brain takes in and how your brain handles it. So we've talked about RAS. Can we tell me? Reticular Activating System. So that's that intake center that keeps you from getting billions a second, but just get 2,000 a second in your brain. And it's going to, and then the amygdala, which is the part, the little almonds behind your eyes, that in the emotional center, that are going to attach meaning to that information. And they both are trying to decide, we're not to dopamine yet, but both of those filters, they're trying to decide again, if it's good for my brain, send it to thinking. If it's bad for my brain, send it where I can fight against it or run or freeze. That's what they're trying to decide. Now, dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Like So like if we, can I have your axon or your, yeah. And so we're going to have this space in between where there's this fluid, and neurotransmitters are going to help these electrical signals to jump over. And so dopamine is one of them. Thank you. Dopamine is a learning-friendly neurotransmitter, and there are others, like acetylcholine is one also, and there are others, there are lots that I don't know. And I wonder if that's where the word dope, like drugs, because dopamine makes you feel pleasure. Okay? The first dopamine, when you get a shot of dopamine, your brain releases it because something good happened. You know, like if you made a correct choice, like I get lost so easily. I mean, and the other day I came somewhere and I'm thinking, okay, which way do I turn? And I turned the right way. And I had just a burst of pleasure. And I realized, dopamine. Because have you ever had that when you make a correct choice, something happens that you just have a little burst? And the first time I remember this, I was in first grade, which was like 60 years ago, almost. In just a few months, it will be 60 years ago since I was in first grade. And there was one day that the teacher asked who can spell egg. And my mother had taught me E-G-G, somehow she just made it a game. And I raised my hand, I said, E-G-G. And I just felt a burst of pleasure. I'll never forget that. And that was dopamine. And they might not even know that dopamine. And dopamine is like a memory chip. We didn't have memory chips then, I don't guess. And so, but the fact that I always remember that is pretty cool. Because I don't remember anything else about first grade. But that dopamine, it makes the memory stick. Can you picture a time that do you remember something that was just kind of random from a long time ago? And it often it has some emotion attached to it, maybe good or bad. I don't know if you think of things. It's the dopamine if it's pleasant. And the dopamine helps you to learn better, so that's why we want it. So if you're stressed, frustrated, or bored, your amygdala, it goes into survival mode, then prevents the information from getting to the thinking and memory areas, and it sends you to fight, flight, or freeze. So this survival mode, when that happens, the amygdala goes into like hyper-metabolic activity. It sucks all the oxygen it can get, taking it away from the thinking part. It's taking the oxygen, taking the glucose, the sugar, into the emotional part because it's panic. And so your thinking brain doesn't have a chance. So don't we sometimes get frustrated with our kids thinking they're just not trying? Does that ever happen? Maybe we think they're not trying, but if they're in that fight, flight, or freeze, they can't help it. You may as well, go to bed or something, or you've got to do something fun to get them out of it. If you're calm, alert, and focused, your amygdala sends the information to your thinking brain. So is that good? Let's say yay to the thinking game. Yay! So we're going to talk about ways to make that happen. Dopamine, okay, if things are going well and you're enjoying it, it adds this memory chip. The amygdala gives you a shot of it. It just releases some dopamine. And there's the nucleus accumbens. I'm glad I remember that word. It's another part that releases the dopamine. And that helps you to learn. And it gives you more control over your reasoning and emotions and creativity. Because you know how sometimes you just lose control over your emotions and your reasoning. And so that's what will help you to keep it. If, on the other hand, if you're angry or very unfocused or anxious, these stress neurotransmitters like cortisol will just flood your brain. And I would think that might be when a panic attack might happen. It's going to be a stress hormone, and those negative feelings take control. So some of the benefits of increased dopamine, like satisfaction and pleasure, and if that happens when you're studying, we want to associate learning with pleasure. I had a girl yesterday that I evaluated that's in middle school, and she just, is not enjoying a lot of school, but she loves art. And I asked her, I said, well, what if school was all about art? And she just beamed. She was so excited. And like I was telling her that we can make school more like the good feelings of art. Think of how your brain feels when you're doing your favorite thing. How your brain might feel happy and relaxed. That's what we want to happen to your brain all day at school. We want your homework brain to feel that way. And it can happen, it can happen. And then you want to do more of it. Okay, it increases, like acetylcholine is one that improves. Do we want to improve focus, alertness, memory, and the prefrontal, all those functions? So dopamine does that, increases your attention, long-term memory, motivation, and it helps you be in charge instead of fight, flight, or freeze. Is this making sense, okay? Okay, good. A lot of y'all have seen this already, but here's your brain. And I want to increase this dopamine, like multisensory learning, using all parts of your brain is going to increase dopamine, which increases pleasure. It's a good cycle. So let's all touch the back of our brain, because that's the part that sees. When you see, the back of your brain is lighting up. So tell me, seeing. Seeing. And when you're hearing and talking, so tell me all of it. So say hearing and talking. They're going to light up. If you're touching and moving, the parietal lobes light up, kind of to the crown and kind of top back. So touching and moving. Touching and moving. And if you're doing that all at the same time, you have like this magic triangle, like a multisensory triangle. And there's another word, Matthew Paul Cowley, who has taught students about this for us at Auburn. And it's very neat. My husband and I donated a program to Auburn for 5 years where we hire a graduate student, and he's a graduate assistant, and he teaches strategies to any Auburn students that want to get better grades with less stress. So he teaches them these strategies, and Matthew Paul Cowley made up the word swag for multisensory learning. So if you want to call it swag, because he had swag, and he was like, we're going to swag, and that stands for study with all gears. So if you can think of that these are like gears, if you have them study with all gears, we're going to swag. So that makes you learn. And then here's again our prefrontal cortex. That part of your brain, it's not really in the triangle, but it should have been. It should have been the CEO of your brain. If there's a famous neurology thing called Hebb's law, H-E-B-B-S. I don't have it in here, but let's say it together. It's that neurons that fire together. So what is you can fire up your neurons? Fire your neurons. Good. Yeah, during neurons that fire together, wire together. Okay. So if you're playing, if you're jumping rope, like Gladys Brooks, if you're jumping rope while you're doing your homework or playing. I'm not as brave to do yours. It's kind of different than mine with my heels. Yes, for little people. I would pressure with my jumping rope with my high heels. I'm not, that's not a good idea. But if you're jumping rope while you're yelling out your spelling words, or yelling out math facts, or yelling out, history, chemistry, this all works for every subject. That's why in college, it's just as good in college, which is really cool. In fact, Matthew Paul last year had a student just came to him one day and said, I had made all D's and F's on the whole first round of exams. And he was a freshman. So how would you feel? And he said, then I came to your class. He just teaches, just random seminars. It's free. And he said, I came and took your little seminar. And then the next round of exams, I made A's and B's. Amazing. And so it works. And it's just pretty incredible.
James, bless his heart, James can't jump right in. I don't know what's harder, math or jumping.
Activities like, now it's more strategies. I hope I didn't take too long on that, but how are y'all doing? Yeah. What if everybody turns around, or if you're the back row, turn around and, I want you to shake hands and say hey to somebody. Or give your I'm gonna want y'all to get up again and tell hey to somebody, but I want you to use some swag. I want you to put your seeing, talking, hearing, touching, moving, and the frontal lobe. Put some swag in it. You might something crazy. Okay, do it. Oh my God. like me. Good. So the more you get, attacked, you get those million neurons that fire wired. And that's a neurological principle, and it just, we need to help our kids understand it. That's why I'm playing. Like, again, yesterday, this mom told me, well, I'm always telling her to sit still, sit still. And and parents tell me that daily, that I was trying to tell them to sit still. And I told them, no, you're killing them. Let them move. Gladys was very kind to bring her exercise ball. Like, I have a big exercise ball, but I just couldn't carry it today. But to use as a chair. That's one of my big recommendations, is just get a big exercise ball and use it as your chair, and just think how that makes you move. And it's good for your core. It's just good anyway, unless it's distracting. I tell the student, if they're just like bouncing, if it's too much, I tell them, okay, you can't do it so much that you're making me dizzy to look at you, but as long as you're just moving, I'm okay. And this girl yesterday, she was rolling back on it. When she could tell that I was talking more to her mother, but she was still listening, she would just roll around on it, and it was fine. It was fine, because she was getting it. She was getting it. So, exercise ball, very good. So, enjoying physical activity, like Twister. I love like my Twister mat, that if you have like color-coded, or just, say if you laid this out, and you just wanted, you don't have to have the spinner, I don't do that, but I might put anything I'm wearing on a Twister mat, or I might just make a hopscotch. It could be anything. They might love making hopscotch outside with sidewalk chalk, and put what you're learning on it, and maybe play Twister. Maybe say, okay, I might have index cards with presidents and something they did, and so I say, well, I put one foot on Abraham Lincoln and put another foot on the Civil War, and then then put a hand on a sort of like 1865, and put another hand on the Gettysburg Address or something. And then what's really fun is that then if you, or the parent, if you do it together and then you're tangled up together like Twister, the more fun it is, the better. The better. And things like rhythm sticks, like the Gladys brought Twister, just anything. If you make a rap, making a rap about what you're learning, or singing the dendrite song and let them play music, anything that gets you moving and it's fun. Throwing things, like, King, I'm going to throw you, throwing things while you're yelling out. Making it fun. Dopamine increases when you are having fun. And physical movement is going to help. This could be for first grade, you could be saying your alphabet, this could be for chemistry. And I told the girl yesterday, and I want you to make sure that your kids know this, is that college is going to be the easiest thing they ever did, and the most fun, and graduate school will be even the easiest by far, because then they'll be doing they're going to choose what they're doing. Maybe not the first 2 years of college, I don't really tell them that you're not going to choose. The first 2 years, maybe not so much but don't stop before the third year, because then you're going to do what you want. And it will be fun. And again, like I said, what if when you get to college, when you get there, your day will all be about art or whatever you've chosen. That's what it'll be about. It's awesome. It's awesome. So we want them to not just, so many of these kids, I forget my statistics, but drop out of high school. It's huge statistics. We have the largest cities in America. I just read the other day, it has over 50% high school dropout rate. That seems impossible to believe, but it was saying it's the highest of all industrialized countries in the world. So we've got a problem. We have got a problem. So I just want them to know there's hope, and that they can change their brain, and they have control of it, and it will get easier.